Okay, we are live now.
Beautiful. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the boardroom. For those who do not know, this is the Business Readers Global Club. This is where we come to build ourselves as leaders. We have a very sound vision, and this sound vision is to be able to improve ourselves, lead ourselves through the culture of reading. Tonight, we continue to unpack the important lessons of this book, The Mind of the Leader. The Mind of the Leader is written by two leadership experts, Rasmus Hougaard and Jacqueline Carter. This book is focused on um, people centricity, on people centered approach using a framework called MSC Leadership. MSC stands for mindfulness, selflessness, and compassion. We have looked at the first two parts of the book. The first part was to be able to lead yourself by understanding self awareness. And the second part was to be able to lead your people by being people aware. The third part is about organizational awareness. And we have a very important guest in our midst from National Hospital, the one and only, she's smiling already, our icon of the year. She has won two awards in this boardroom, the Icon of the Year award, Dr. Morayo Salawu. She has the habit, the pristine habit of showing up in every occasion, being available, being present. And I think this is the kind of leadership that we embody. This is the kind of leadership that we talk about. So I am honored and proud to be able to welcome you, Dr. Morayo, to take part three of this book, which is understanding and leading your organization. And that means you're going to be talking on chapter 10. I want to read a very important caption, and that is from the beginning of the book by Peter Drunkard. He famously claimed that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, interesting. So Dr. Morayo is going to bring us insight from chapter 10, and our discussion is going to be centered on how to influence organizational culture, how to lead a people-centered culture, you know, and looking at the important drivers for leading organizational culture, how to create MSC culture, which is very important, how to build creativity, how to initiate change, how to ensure that what we all are looking for, especially business owner, which is profitability. We hear a lot about high performing organization these days for high performing individuals. So Dr. Morayo is going to talk to us about chapter 10 and showcase some of the key nuggets that is being shared by these two important authors. I want to welcome you once again, Dr. Morayo from Abuja. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Princess, for that lovely welcoming address and introduction of me. Um, I remain Dr. Morayo Salawu, consultant anesthetist with National Hospital Abuja. So I'll be taking chapter 10 of this book. Please, can I have my slide? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So I'll be taking chapter 10 of the book, The Mind of the Leader. And the topic of chapter 10 is understanding your organization. Next slide. So I will start by what this book has been talking to us all about, the mind of the leader. And this book has centered everything on MSC, which is cultivating mindfulness, selflessness, and compassion as the leader. That's what we need for us to lead and have a people-centered approach in our organization. Next slide. So when we are talking about importance of organization leadership, we should note that effective leadership begins with inner transformation. We have to transform ourselves from inner, from our innermost part, then that will now show outermost. And we must do this with this MSC that we have been talking about: mindfulness, selflessness, and compassion. And the quotes that Princess said at the beginning is something actually I want to start with, which says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And this is actually true. When we are in an organization, the culture is what will make the organization to move forward. Yeah, we can rent a room, we can rent an office, we can pull down an office and build a new one, but we can't build culture in one day like that. Culture shapes organization in a way similar to how our thoughts shaped our behavior. So when we have this at the back of our mind, we know that culture is very essential in organization leadership. Another thing we should know is that culture isn't visible, but is very powerful. Just like we have been told in our high school or secondary school day, that culture is the way of life of people. This is very true. For you to succeed as a leader, your culture organize in an organization actually comforts, and that's what we put the people-centered approach in our organization. Next slide. So the importance of organization leadership, please go back one more. Go back one more slide.
David, one more slide. Forward. Hello, David? Hello, David. Can you move the slide forward?
No. The one before this one.
Before
The importance
before
of
the other one.
organization. Yeah. Another one.
Can you hear
Go
me?
back one more time. Yeah,
Yes,
go back
back.
one more
Go
time.
back. Mhm.
Okay. I think it's my network.
Okay.
It's not going backward.
Hold on.
Okay. If you can't go backward, I can just talk about the slide. Okay, let me just talk about the slide. The importance of organization culture. Yeah, we're talking about when leaders want success for any organization, what we need to understand and use is how the culture that is created by the people is layered. And it's layered on kinds of people, which include the importance of organization leadership. Effective leadership begins with our innermost transformational. The leaders must embody this MSC that we're talking about: mindfulness, selflessness, and compassion. And then, as leaders, if you want success for our organization, we need to understand culture. And we need to know that culture is created by people. And this is layered by some kinds of, the people are layered by some kind of emotions. The layers include emotions, values, and principles. And that's why in our secondary school days, they will say culture is a way of people. So we cannot, I mean, separate culture from people. And when we know that all these are people, as a person, we carry some layers, such as our emotions, our values, and then our principles. These go a long way in nurturing the kind of leadership and making our organization to be successful. Next slide. Next slide, please. So cultivating organization mindfulness. This is done to promote presence and awareness through training and reflective practices across the organization. That's to tell us that in an organization, we should be people-centered. We should not think organization consists of machineries and stuff like that. It's the people that make an organization work. It's the people that make an organization successful. So we should be able to promote our presence and awareness. We should not be egocentric as a leader. We should be people-centered. We should carry our people along. All our subordinates, they should be carried along. And it's important for us to train them, for them to have reflective practices across organization. This way, we can be able to cultivate organization mindfulness. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So embedding selflessness into culture. How do we do this? We do this by fostering a team-centric culture where collective success is prioritized over ego. This is something we should take into cognizance as leaders. We should not be egoistic. It should not be me and me and me alone. That way you won't be successful. But when you carry your people along, when you do a team approach, when you are a culture, your culture is people centered, you take your people along in every decision, you make them feel free that they can decide on their own. You don't micromanage people, they can, innovate and be able to say what they are innovating about, what they are thinking about, and from there you can carry it. But not that you micromanage people, people will not be able to showcase their talent, people will not be able to show up, people will not be able to innovate, and these are the things that make organizations to be successful. When we foster a team-centric culture where there's collective success is prioritized, is when there is success, everybody is carried along that will make it to be successful. And when there is a failure too, it's shared. It's not you pointing that this person that as a leader, we should be able to take responsibility for that. And if that's what embedding selflessness into culture is all about. And this will make our organization to be successful if we can embody this in our organizations. Next slide, please. So another thing is leading with organization compassion by supporting our employee well-being through empathic policies, open communication, and support system. This leads me to an organization I belong to. Sometimes it's not even money, as in the high salary that will motivate workers or will make workers to stay and commit themselves. Some people can die for the organization, their sweat, everything. But small things like um health insurance, they know that their family or anybody that is sick, they can get good healthcare service, providing like accommodation. They know that there's good accommodation for them, providing, maybe support in school or holiday. These extra things are things that attract um workers or employees to stay. By having empathic policy, open communication, and support system, a lot of support system, not just sometimes not just the high salary or that will make them to stay. But when you show compassion, when you roll out programs that will benefit them and their family, when they know they will be well taken care of, they have a good um um when they retire, they know they will be settled. If anything happens to them, they have a good insurance, life insurance, education insurance for their children. All these are packages that will make an employee to stay put, and this leading with organization compassion by having different empathic policies and support system. This will make the employee to give in their best to the organization. We want the organization to move forward, and this will lead to more success in the organizations. Next slide. Another thing we should look at up to is in real world application of this MSc leadership. There are some organization that I was able to go to, like Microsoft. What they practice there is mindfulness, and this mindfulness boasts innovation. As I've seen the last two um our last two lecture that Coach Semira took us to mindfulness. When you are practicing mindfulness, it will boost innovation. This one thing Microsoft is doing, and that's why they are innovating day in, day out. Another example that I got from my research is Lego. They have selfless leadership, which improves team dynamics. And because of this, it has led them to have a very successful organization. And another example is architecture. Here, compassionate leadership increases engagement. When we have a compassionate leadership, when you know you will not be left in the cold, when you know you have your leader that will support you, you you give it all your all in that organization to move forward. So these are just some of the examples of real world application of what MSc leadership has been able to do. We have many examples in this book. They talk about the pigeons, they talk about I've forgotten the name of this other one too, the hairline, where most people you have different values. They say most organization is 20 values, all the values, collaboration, um, innovation, um, safety, all the good things that we all talk about values. Most organizations have those as their values, but really, 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 do they, I mean, do they, what they are hanging on, all these values they are hanging on the offices, do they really practice it? That's the question we should ask. Do they really practice it? They gave example of those that will put it up, but when the when they are pushed to the wall or if anything happens, they can just sack the employees. So are they really practicing the values they said they have? This is something that we should, just not talk the talk or walk the talk. We should, when we're saying we are doing this and these are values in this organization, as a leader, we should project it. We should embody it. We should it should be seen all over us. If we said we have come to service, that kind of leader should not come late because your subordinates, all the employees are looking up to you. When you are coming late, you are giving them chance and room for them to come late. When you say honesty is your value and you are not honest, you are doing a lot of shady deal. You've given your subordinate, your employees room for them to do that. Anything that we take as our value in an organization, we should be able to model it as a leader. We should be the one that will walk the talk. We should be at the forefront of it. And by so doing, we carry our employees along. Next slide, please. So there are some steps for us to cultivate this MSc leadership. One of them is to conduct mindfulness leadership training. We cannot overemphasize that. There's a lot of training that can be done, and we should not make it just, we can start with the leaders since we know that the one that we, project this up, but we should make sure it trickles down. Everybody undergoes this training because even the people that are not leaders today will be leaders tomorrow. So it's good that everybody should undergo mindfulness leadership training. The another thing is that we should promote selflessness through mentorship. When you mentor somebody, that means you are carrying that person along. you are showing the person way how to go about it. All the mistakes you've made, you are showing the person so that the person will not repeat that same mistake. Your mentorship will make your mentor to do that times three or even more than that of what you have done, because all your mistakes, they have no need, they will not, I mean, go and make the same mistakes. You've known what works, right? So they will be able to just go straight and even make more success. So that's why it's important that we should promote selflessness through mentorship. You are not really see it as if you are gay, but you are leaving something behind. It's not good for you to just be a leader when you are retired, or and then there's nobody that can replace it. That's not leadership. You should be able to mentor people. You should be able to have people at the end of the day. You can step aside, they'll be able to take it and even do more than you are doing. That's what mentorship entails. And by practicing selflessness, you can practice it through mentorship. Another thing is compassion. You can get compassion via feedback and support systems. Feedback, we should not let feedback look as if they are falsifying. From feedback, we can be able to fine tune what is not going well and be able to do it well. There are many positive feedback that can really help us in our organization. And support system, we should not overemphasize that. For us to practice compassion, we have to have support system for our staff. If they are nursing mother there, have crèche in the organization. If they have children, have school, things that will make the workers or employees to know that this um organization is really thinking about me. They are really being compassionate. Those are the things that will make them to commit and do more and be able to, you know, give a lot to that organization. Next slide, please. So, what's our role in transforming organizational culture? We should reflect on our personal leadership practices. Are we really practicing MSC? And we should be able to identify areas for us to integrate MSC in our own space, in our own house, in our work. We know that we spend a lot of time at work. So our work area should be something we look forward to going to, not a toxic environment, not somewhere that there is no compassion, no selflessness, no mindfulness. We should create that culture in our working environment. We stay a long time. Some people stay up to 10, 14 hours at work. Me as a doctor, sometimes I can even stay like on call 24 hours. So we should be able to practice so that we are not in a toxic environment. We look forward to going to work. We have leaders that are practicing MSC. We ourselves are practicing with our subordinates. We are showing compassion. We are showing selflessness and mindfulness. This will go a long way in some of the roles that we can use to transform our organization culture. And also, we should commit to ongoing support of our team. Support can be just, smiling at your subordinates, asking how are you genuinely, asking after their families, oh, so I'm not a machine, I'm not a robot. Somebody really cared for me. And this should be genuine care for our subordinates or people that we are working with. All this, we can do it at our own space, and we will see that this will transform our organization culture. Next slide. So that brings us to embracing MSC for organization success. MSC qualities enhances organization performance. We should lead by example and cultivate lasting impact, so that when we are gone, people will be able to talk about us that, oh, this person was able to achieve this and we're able to leave this behind. We should be able to have a lasting impact. Next slide. So now there's room for discussion. We have opened the floor for questions and experiences relating to how we can practice our MSc leadership, how we can integrate this into our organization culture, and how we can move our organization forward as leaders practicing MSc. So the floor is open for discussion on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morayo. This topic is very dear to my heart, and I do have a lot of questions because I think you did mention in the course of your presentation, and by the way, before I go into discussion, since you already guided us towards discussion, for those joining us on YouTube and those in the house, it is our tradition to always give accolade to our presenters. And Dr. Morayo, you have really unpacked the cross of the discussion for tonight. Um, Organizational culture leading uh, our organization is very key. Most people have this quote and unquote core values all hanging everywhere in the world. And I think that we had a book where we had to revisit our mission, vision statement, and also our core values. But while in school this year, culture was a big topic on the table. And every time we had to look into all the dimensions of culture and the behavior of people in organization, there was also always a wide gap. Yeah. And you see this gap with certain leaders. Why some uphold leadership principles and core values and quality, others do not. So sometimes you can feel the culture of the organization based on who is your manager, direct manager, or direct report. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to explain. So you see a compassionate leader leading a group of people, and then you see a leader who is not very well informed and has not embraced this MSc framework by any means. How do you relate? What do you do? Because that way, team engagement, team management, and the rest of it, upholding culture becomes a big problem. And you see a huge gap in such organization. Are you going to look at the individual or are you going to be looking at the organizational culture? I know that someone is supposed to be responsible for ensuring that we embrace culture into our corporate strategy. But this is always not the case, like you mentioned in your presentation. What do you do when there's this disparity in our cultural sensitivity?
Okay. Um, I will offer some solution, but I'm sure in the group too, lots of people can offer other, solutions. If it's your direct subordinate, your direct boss that is not being compassionate, not embodying the MSc culture, there's something about influence. If you as a person has that and you keep on it, sometimes you can influence the person, even if it's your superior boss. There's a room for influence when you yourself is practicing this. And that's why for organization culture in an organization, there should be training. People should know what is expected of them and what is not expected of them so that they will be able to know how to practice and how to fit into this organization culture. Because you will clearly see a difference between someone that has a boss or a manager that is practicing MSc. You will see the place that the success in that organization, it will be so, so glaring than where it's not being practiced. And why as a superior you cannot forcefully, but there's a way that you can influence. If you keep practicing this MSc, you can be able to influence your superior and even your colleague. So I think it's still open for discussion, but I think one can influence.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing some flowers in the chat room. Receive your flowers, Dr. Morayo. Samira, the
Yeah,
timekeeper, says
receiving it.
network is not letting
Network.
me be. And I also see that Saulu Atoyin is in the house. You were expecting him. He's here. Saulu
Okay.
Atoyin. And
Mr.
we have,
Luato, you're welcome.
I know we're going to go
Thank
around
you,
and take
everyone.
comments.
Good,
I don't know
good
if you were
evening.
able to hear Dr. Samira give her presentation. Saulu Atoyin, and if you want to comment. By the way, her
Well,
slides look beautiful and she had all the graphics. So I'm waiting for you. Maybe you should highlight your slides again so that he can see it. He's the
yeah,
people's
yeah.
advocate.
The last page tells it all, so I don't need to I don't need to say too much, I believe. Yeah, so basically I didn't hear all of the presentation. I think I came in at the very end. So unfortunately, no, but I would go back and listen for sure. Um, and I just want to say thank you, Dr. Morayo, for always showing up. And also I did love your perspective on the question Princess just posed to us, which is about leadership and culture in organizations. So basically, the leadership culture in organizations influencing the organizational practices, basically. So or the culture in general. So I would say that you are very correct when you say that a subordinate can also be in a position of influence, but of course that may not work in every case, because depending on the relationship which you have with that leader, or how receptive that leader is to you know actually being uh, you know influenced. Let me not say being corrected, being influenced in that way. So the problem this can pose could be that in organizations, depending on the size of the organization, depending on the sometimes depending on the location of the organization, it will be down to um, persuasive leadership from the very top to change that cultural anomaly. And what am I trying to say? If you have a very large organization, for instance, you know, even though the global culture might be to behave in a certain way or to do things in a certain way, sometimes you find out that some as or some based on location, you find out that some aspects of organizational culture are not being adhered to in certain locations, which is not supposed to be though. So in that situation, I think it boils down to the leadership at the very top to identify the sort of wrongdoings or the anomalies, and then like that's why I say persuasive. They have to kind of drive it down all the way. That's always come from the top. And the reverse side to that is, as members of our teams, as members of our organizations, we also have a duty to drive that culture upwards, like you said. And in some cases, it might be aggressively. And why I said like aggressively is the sense that, let's say you have a manager who's not doing things according to the books, according to the organization's doctrines. There are ways of escalating, and this is going to hurt this organization. For instance, there are ways of escalating higher management that will be kind of official. It wouldn't be like you are, trying to indict that person directly or whatever, but you're trying to correct what is not being done rightly. Because whether you like it or not, let's take a case study, or let's just look at a case that happened in First Bank. People were carrying out corrupt practices that went all the way to, as much as, I can't remember how many billions. And you can't tell me that I think it was the head of that unit that was carrying out that thing. You can't tell me that there was nobody in that department that could identify or spot that and then, do something about it, right? And I know sometimes it's difficult because if you try to do something, then you might now become the victim, depending on the setting. Yeah. So, but then that's where we've got to be as smart individuals. That's where we've got to be we really need to understand how we can, work around it. Because at the end of the day, it's without the organization, the lack of your action without the organization, or even maybe you might even lose your own job by going for it as well. So it's really important that it's not straightforward. It's not one size fits all when it comes to trying to change cultures in organizations or trying to influence cultures. Even though the rule book is there, the rule book is let's do it this way, let's do it that way. But there are people who will not just follow that rule book. And sometimes, like I said, it has to be aggressive because, for instance, let's assume it's something that has to do with your own well-being, maybe the way your manager treats people in your organization and all of that. At the end of the day, maybe that's not your organizational culture in itself, but because that person decides to behave differently from the normal or adhere to the rules, and then they put you in a position where you have no option than to escalate it, right? So yeah, there are different means of handling cultural malpractice, I'll call it, when it comes to organizations. And I have so many in my head because I've been involved with so many instances, but I'll just leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that insightful contribution. It's always good to have you in the house, Oluwatoyin, Sir Oluwatoyin. Thank you so much. It's not all size fits. We really need to understand the place, the environment, the people, and even the laws that guides us in an organization. So cultural insensitivity, malpractices, dilemma, cuts across all organization. And it takes a leader that really practices this MSc leadership to be able to make a difference. And I think you really centered on the conversation on how to make a difference, how to drive your organization and people with a mindset that is really hinged on people-centric leadership. I was speaking to a friend of mine who had given an example of how they were treated. It was an ethical dilemma because for people who have been working at a company as big as the company in reference went bankrupt, they just ask everybody to go without any proper transparency and communication. And so you can imagine how these staffs will feel. They completely lost trust, not just on the organization that had gone bankrupt, but on other multinationals, because that can happen. So people begin to work with people begin to work with a lot of reservation. And when they see things happening in certain organizations, they are not even willing to give their best or their trust to such organization, and they just jump ship. So these are some of the experiences that we've seen. You talked about the discussion in view. For me, this is one of the examples that I have to share. And Oluwatoyin, thank you for really, discussing in depth on how we can manage, ourselves in such situation with our leaders. So over to you, Dr. Morayo, and also to the rest of the group. Samira wanted to say something. I'm sorry. I think, Samira, over to you. Hello, Samira, over to you. Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Fine, thank you. So I wasn't able to get it all because of my network, but I wanted to say, Dr. Morayo, well done for just the few I was able to grab, and the presentation slides. Brilliant. Because the writing is super impacted on the images, and I love that. Really brilliant presentation, and the composure, and the delivery. Thank you so much. Well done, Doctor. And well done for always having time. You find, in fact, you make time. I really commend you. Yes. You always find a way of making time with your busy schedule. So well done. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well said, Samira. And that's why she has won the award 2 years in a row since the inception of BRG. Yeah? It's not easy. It's not easy. I was waiting for the rest of the boardroom members to comment on the slide. I didn't say anything about the slide itself. And I think if only Sir Oluwatoyin was in the house earlier on, you would have seen her slides, the way she had done it with all the graphics. This needs to be acknowledged. You were looking for graphics, you got graphics. This is all slides full of graphics.
No, I can see it right
She
now.
went all out. He got graphics.
You got graphics.
Exactly.
Every slide has graphics, and every slide tells the story, which is
Yes.
really beautiful. And I think one of the things I love, and because this slide is actually on right now, is the real world application of the MSc leadership that you talked about, because we sometimes forget that there are people practicing these things, right? This particular approach is being practiced in organizations that are close to us. Microsoft is very known to us. Lego is very known to us. Accenture is very known to us. And you gave example of each of those acronym: mindful leadership, how it boosts innovation in the case of Microsoft, how selfless leadership improves team dynamics in terms of Lego, and how compassionate leadership increases engagement in terms of Accenture. So I love that real life application and showcase for us this evening. And I think this is my major takeaway, so that we really do understand that it's important to imbibe this culture for ourselves, begin to uphold it, and also begin to showcase it and live it. You said leadership is not about the title. It's not about it's about your state of mind. I was speaking to my mentor, and she said, if you think others don't have the certain value, core values, why don't you show too much of the values that you have? If you're a mindful leader, why is it not radiating in your environment? If you're a compassionate leader, why is it not radiating in your environment? So, and that is a question I want to leave for the house. I have Ebohon, Lady Ebohon, you're welcome, and welcome back again to the boardroom.
Thank you, Princess. Good evening, everyone, once again. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize, my video will have to be off. I'm in a mess. I'm just lying down. So, Dr. Morayo, those slides are like cookies. I just feel like eating them up. In fact, I might say that they're actually my inspiration that I said, okay, let me just say one or two things. Well done, Doctor. Those slides make a lot of sense.
Thank you.
I'll come for some tutorials. I hope you'll be ready to teach me some. So yeah, I didn't begin the reading of the book with you, even though I have been reading it sparingly and on and off. But I took time to read a few pages of this chapter yesterday while I was airborne, and I couldn't finish it. But listening to you this evening made me to understand this and what I was able to read yesterday. And for me, the take home pay here is we can't erase our culture from leadership. We cannot. And we all know that leadership is a tough, is a stressful, how do I put it now? Leadership can be very stressful, it's a very stressful role. And then this, the little I was able to read from the chapter yesterday, it makes me to understand that the mind of a leader focuses on the mindfulness, okay, and then this mindfulness has a role to enhance good leadership qualities. So if I went for that to understand, for what Dr. Mara said this evening, I can understand that you would the mindfulness emphasizes how we as leaders can cultivate this bringing in culture as you defined and taught us. We can cultivate this self-awareness to manage stress and foster emotional intelligence through mindfulness practices by to our employees. And then we can, if we do this, we can be more effective and compassionate. We can be more effective and compassionate leaders. So, and I picked something while you were saying something too. I don't know if I'm going to paraphrase it, but what I could understand from it is this. Let me just try to remember. You said, okay, let me just read the way I understood it, like servant leadership kind of thing. Like when you made an example of when an organization understands that, okay, we have mothers or parents who have children. Okay, yeah, why not set up a school that would be easily accessible by our employees? They can put their children there. We can have a daycare. So that is more like servant leadership. You know, it also explores that attribute of leadership. Explore how mindfulness and interventions can enhance the attributes and characteristics of servant leaders. We as leaders. I don't know if I'm communicating. So he can also suggest that, according to you too, doctor, that mindfulness can help us develop as leader, develop a mindset of service and care for our team members. Was I a good student? Did I understand what you taught us today?
Yes, you did.
I think a round of applause for me. Let me feel
Yeah,
that.
you did.
Welcome back. You're waking. Your brain is waking up slowly.
I'm glad I was able to be I actually paid attention. I was actually watching the movement of our leaves. I said I must prove to my princess that I may have been gone, but the brain still can capture something. Yes, I learned a lot today, and being a leader and employer of labor is stressful. And this book, I've been reading it. Maybe not as well as I would have done if I'd been, active on the board, but I've been able to learn from it. Today, it seems to be have a different perspective and dimension as well.
We
And
also have we are live on YouTube, Ebohon now.
yes,
So you
I've been
can watch
watching.
all the replay
I've been watching on it. I've been watching on YouTube.
back to back. Yes.
Yeah. I've been
Sorry, Princess.
updating it.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
Oluwatoyin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something there. I was just kind of elated when I heard Bon's voice. I said that's the golden voice that we've been missing in the house, right? And yeah, I know we are live rather, so I would just keep my
You can go ahead.
comments.
You can go
No,
ahead.
no. I mean, I would revert to her privately. Yeah. So, but it's good to have you back, Lady Ebohon, the one I like to call three different names. I call you Lubu Konola, Ebohon, or what's the third one? Princess, remind me.
Naomi.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of us again today. Yeah. Thank you.
We had a conversation before we started, and it's really good to have her back in the house. So, my lady, you're welcome to the boardroom, and your brain is working. And I think Dr. Morayo has already given you a signal that you're a good student. So, yeah, welcome back. So, I think there's one thing of feedback nobody gave you, Dr. Morayo. You actually work well with the time that we have. In spite of the fact that we started late, you were able to finish in record time. Nobody discovered that, because Oluwatoyin came in late, so he passed on the lateness aspect. So let me be the people's advocate, Oluwatoyin. So Dr. Morayo, you were very good on time. And I must also acknowledge that aspect um, of doing a great job, managing your time well, dedicating yourself to preparing a beautiful presentation with lots of graphics, making sure that your slides were readable. I think that is also kudos to you. I'd like to return back the mic to you for your last words before we close the boardroom tonight. What will be your key takeaway? What will be the call to action for tonight? What is it that you want us to sleep on, based on the subject matter for tonight? Over to you, Ma.
Okay. Thank you very much, Princess. So my last word will be that we should know that culture actually shapes organization in a way similar to how our thoughts shaped our behavior. Though we don't see culture, but they are very powerful. If we have leaders that want success for our organization, we need to understand the culture and we need to know how to use it to make our organization move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So well said. And on that note, I want to close on one particular author's words from Daniel Goldman. He says here that although everyone has the ability to influence a culture, it is the action and behaviors of the leader that matters most because everyone watches the boss. So even though we agree that irrespective of where you fall within the leadership cadre, that you can influence an organization, but being a leader at the top, being at the end of affair, controlling your organization, you have the utmost responsibility towards that organizational culture to be able to shed light across board and to uphold leadership principle. So if you're a leader joining us on YouTube, anywhere, please take this as a call to action. Everybody watches the boss. So be mindful of how you carry yourself and how you lead the organizational culture. Thank you very much, Dr. Morayo, for a very insightful conversation. Thank you to all boardroom members who have joined us from across the world. Olu Bukola, thank you for joining us from UK. I know that you're on vacation. Oluwatoyin, thank you very much. You're going to be facilitating tomorrow. I'm looking forward to having you back as the facilitator. And to our
Thank you.
timekeeper, Samira, thank you very much. I see that Miriam has gone off. So for those who joined us earlier, we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Bye-bye and good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Good
Goodbye.
night.